there subscribers and YouTubers, RosesRed17. You have read the title, and if you remember my video I made back in 2018, I put together a list of my favorite story arcs from Fairy Tail. If you haven't, there's a link in the description down below, and I suggest watching that one first before watching this one. And if you already have, you understand. I have decided to remake this video with a lot more details about the arcs themselves, since my other videos, well, I was just saying what's popping into my head in front of the camera. But this time, I have typed everything down and recorded the things I wanted to say. So, with a written down script to record from, and also this chibi I got from Robin from Anime America, link in the description down below, this is the remake of my top 10 favorite arcs in Fairy Tail. Now, before I get into this arc, there's something I want to address. Out of all the main characters in Fairy Tail, how come Natsu Dragneel is the only one who doesn't have a backstory arc? I mean, I can't be the only person that noticed that, right? If you rewatch the entire series again, you probably would notice, if you look more carefully, all the other characters have backstory arcs. Here's a list: Galuna Island, Gray; Phantom Lord, Lucy; Tower Heaven, Urza; Battle of Fairy Tail, Loxus; Edelus, Happy, and Carla; Fairy Tail Zero, Mavis. The list goes on. I guess you can count the last arc as a backstory of his character, but there isn't much to go on since it's mostly about him and Zera trying to kill each other, but at the same time trying to understand each other as well. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I felt like that Natsu should have his own story arc, even though his character development grows throughout the entire series. But this particular filler arc that a lot of fans seem to dislike fits his character very well. And that is the Daphne arc. Now I know this isn't official to the original storyline. Who am I kidding? No filler arc does. But I really enjoy this filler because it reveals Natsu's lack of stupidity and forgetfulness. Now I'm not saying it's a bad thing. We all know that Natsu is the idiot in the group, but he's also the one with the biggest heart. This arc shows his true nature as a human being. I think my favorite scene of this filler is Natsu's self-sacrifice to protect his friends. And also, get ready for this one because what I'm about to say will blow your mind. For the longest time, I have always wanted Natsu to become the damsel in distress, just this one time, and that is what this filler gave me. The fact that he became a target for something that isn't about fighting or enemies that want to get revenge. No, this is completely different. It is almost the same as when Lucy gets captured. You either use her as a sacrifice or a pervert who wants some alone time with her because she's got those curves and those giant melons. This filler had the same idea with Natsu, minus the perverted part of the idea, but this felt fresh and new, something I would never expect, especially when it comes to the hero. Now, I don't expect Natsu being saved as much as the actual damsel in distress, but it is a nice twist to the scenario of the princess and the knife, you know what I mean. The filler only had 4 episodes, plus 3 more with their own story, and my personal favorite is the Rainbow Cherry Blossom. I really like this one because it felt like a strong connection to Natsu and Lucy's relationship, and it's also when I started shipping Nalu. This filler may be pointless to most fans, but to me it felt like Natsu's own backstory arc. Like I said before, Natsu doesn't have his own arc, so I count this one as his own. Fairy Tail Zero, the beginning of it all. Now where do I start with this one? Mavis Vermillion, the former owner and first master of the Fairy Tail Guild, started off as a servant girl to a douchebag of a master and his snobby bratty daughter named Zera. But then tragedy struck, and Mavis and Zera are the only survivors on the island, until a group of treasure hunters came on their island in search for a treasure. Yeah, you can guess what happens next. I really do like this prequel of the story, and the characters are likable as well, and not to mention Mavis' connection to Zera. He was the one that taught Mavis the proper way of how to use magic. So the moral of the story is that if it wasn't for Zera, Fairy Tail would never existed, and to give more curiosity to the plot is the existence of Zera. Now, when I first saw her character, I was wondering to myself, how come we never seen this girl before? Well, the answer is at the end, when it's discovered that she's been an illusion all along, and the heartbreaking scene that shed tears to my eyes is the most beautiful sad moments I have ever seen in Fairy Tail. That moment gave Mavis the confidence to grow strong and trust others to be by her side, and thus Fairy Tail is born with remarkable characters. And then we get cut to the 1-year time skip where Natsu and Lucy are reunited. Now the journey begins with the search of the remaining Fairy Tail members. I enjoy Mavis' story arc and her character. This prequel story was a good one to me. Now here is another filler arc that a lot of people don't seem to like, but I personally enjoy this one for many reasons. The transformations of the spirits, and that the Eclipse Gate affected their mind, turning them evil, and voided their contract with Lucy. Yikes! But one thing I want to address is how a badass Yukino has become. This arc shows more of her character development, after being humiliated by her own guilt and was kicked out because she lost the battle in the Grand Magic Games. Harsh. I will say that Yukino is one of my favorite side characters. She is a shy person with a kind heart. She has her own ways to win a battle with her celestial spirits, even though it is all off screen. You can tell that she's been learning Mortal Kombat skills and managed to summon more than one spirit at a time. Now, this is my personal opinion, so please do not get offended by it, but I think Yukino is a better celestial wizard than Lucy would ever be. Just let me explain, okay? Lucy is by far the strongest out of all the celestial wizards because of the incredible bond she has with her spirits. But her combat skill is pretty lackey, and not to mention her training, and can't summon no more than one spirit at a time. In the Grand Magic Games, she had to unlock her second origin, and don't get me started on the Star Dress transformation. Yes, it does increase her magical powers, but she wouldn't have achieved that upgrade if Aquarius didn't persuade her to break her key and summon the king. So yeah, to me, that was just dumb luck. Now with Yukino, she knows how to summon two spirits at once, and managed to summon a powerful one known as the Snake Charmer. Finds a way to unlock the secret to Pisces' true form. But you may also notice that Yukino doesn't just use the gold keys to fight, she uses silver ones against her opponent, finding a unique way of using spirits that are weaker than any of the zodiacs, while Lucy only relies on her strongest spirits to fight, which is more understandable. Yukino has her own way of winning a battle, even if she doesn't have her strongest spirits. And did I also mention she has combat skills and has a strong bond with her spirits as well? Lucy may be a stronger celestial wizard, but to me, Yukino is by far better. Celestial magic is a mysterious power. It has other types of ability than just summoning immortal entities from another world or having a strong bond with them. What I really like about Yukino is that she isn't as optimistic as the other female characters. She's like the quiet type that others admire, and that is enough for me. Yukino's character development and growth is the reason that this arc is on this list, and everything is about saving the spirits. Each member fights one spirit and forced to close their gates, but then a bigger threat comes along. You know the drill, the power of friendship, they destroy the evil and the spirits are back to their original form. Now, to be honest, I like their Eclipse form better, and the fact that Lucy had to fight against her own spirits without actually hurting them, but is willing to do everything she can just to save them. The fights were pretty bland and quick, but it's a good thing, and I can understand why a lot of people don't like this filler because how quick the fight scenes are, and not to mention the title of each episode is blank versus blank. Yeah, that was really annoying. What else can I say about this filler? It had a good idea and in the end became a heartwarming moment. And once again, Yukino's character development is the real reason why this arc is on my list. Tenro Island. Now this one caught my interest when they talk about the trials of becoming a high-rank wizard called S-Class. They go to an island to have the trial, but who will become an S-Class wizard? Nobody, because the trial gets interrupted by Grimoire Hearts. We also get the introduction to Zera, who is one of the main antagonists with the curse spell that'll destroy anything or everything in its path, and not to mention this is the first time Natsu and Zeref met face to face. But another thing I like about this arc are the fight scenes, and Loxodon shows up out of nowhere to fight against Hades, which was epic in my book. There is another fight scene I would like to mention, and this one's one of my personal favorites, and that is Natsu versus Gildarts. Gildarts overpowers Natsu by a long shot to make our fearless Fire Dragon Slayer do the unthinkable. That is, accepting defeat. Now I know this is powerless, but this teaches Natsu a very important lesson, and that is not to fight fear, but to accept it, to understand your own weakness. That is a good statement. And once he fights against someone who is stronger than himself, and in order to beat this person, he takes the lesson that Gildarts taught him and uses the knowledge of accepting fear and take it to his advantage. However, he won the battle by doing the dumbest and yet smartest thing he's ever done. Natsu emptied his body of magic power and ate the black flames that he couldn't do before and kicked the guy's ass. I find it hilarious. And to be fair, this arc shows the change of Natsu's development as a character. It is refreshing to me as it states the fact that he's more than just a hothead. This arc has many memorable moments, warm feeling, heartbreaking, and kick-ass battle scenes. And yet, at the end of the big fight, we get the unexpected. And that is the 7-year gap, which I didn't appreciate, but it worked out for the better. The reunited members of the 1-year disband guild has come together once again, and what more can I say about this arc? The battles, the power-ups, the one-shot Natsu destroying a god, and Gray learning to use his Demon Slayer magic, and the heartwarming moments between Wendy and Shelia and their close bond. Natsu, Lucy, and Happy go on their personal quest to find all the other Fairy Tail members, and in the end the family is back together. This is one of those warm-filled moments of the series, and it's because Natsu and Lucy both did their best to get the guild back together. Now this would have been higher on the list if it wasn't for the disappointment of Lucy's judgment on the matter.
What if they have put it in the past? What if they've forgotten about it altogether?
You do know they were only gone a year, right? Hell, they didn't forget about you guys within the 7 years you were gone. I'm sorry, but Lucy really annoyed me in that episode. It is unlike her to give up so easily, and all it took was Kana to drag her along to see the truth. Other than that, the arc is pretty good. Speaking of Lucy, I'm pretty sure I mentioned a couple of times that I disliked her since the beginning. Well, all that changed thanks to the Phantom Lord arc, learning about her backstory and where she came from and why she did what she did. Now having a rich girl who ran away from her wealthy home because mommy is no longer around and dear old daddy has become a jerk. Hiring a dark guild to bring her back after she's been gone for an entire year. Yeah, this is a common cliche when it comes to rich people who want to control another person's life. But what I like about this arc is that the last episode when she meets her father once again after her 1 year absent and says this.
And I'm not Lucky Lucy Heartphilia anymore. I'm Lucy of Fairy Tail. The people there treat me like family. Something you never did. So this is goodbye, Daddy.
That was so beautiful! I got respect for Lucy now, and her character grows afterwards, and that one moment brought me tears and one best line I've ever heard in the series. This shows how a caring person Lucy really is, until she goes back to the annoying pain in the ass fan service nuisance. I am sorry, but that's what happened. But you know what? I still like her, so I can deal with it now. Overall, this is a really good story arc. The Tower of Heaven. Oh boy! The most memorable arc in the entire series. And why is it so unforgettable? Because of the backstory of our red-haired badass swordswoman, Erza Scarlet. The history of her past is downright amazing. The reason she's so distant from people and why she acts the way she does. What she has been through to make her a strong person that she is now. And why she wears the armor all the time. Not to mention how she ended up joining Fairy Tail and lead the people to freedom when she was just a young child. That is so hardcore there. Now Urza's story is one of the memorable moments, and the other is Natsu's awakened Dragon Force and defeated Jalal. And after Urza decided to sacrifice herself in order to stop the Tower of build-up magic from exploding, Natsu managed to somehow save her. Now don't ask how he did it, as it was never explained. There are other scenes to address, but most of them are just for laughs, and I enjoy every second of them. The Grand Magic Game Arc. Yeah, I read and heard a lot of complaints, because on the first day, Fairy Tail didn't do so well. And not to mention these guys. Lucy would have won that match, hands down, if Flare didn't have a helping companion on the sideline that'll counterattack her spell. That is bullshit right there. And she was kinda kicking ass too. I know the beginning wasn't that strong for our heroes, but it gets better as the games went on. What I like about this arc are all the new characters that are introduced, and some that are reintroduced. The battles between guildmates and Fairy Tail struggling to climb back to the top was enjoyable. From Ursa fighting up 100 monsters, to Kana using fairy glitter, to Natsu single-handedly defeat the twin dragon slayers and overpower their dragon force. Yes, the flames of emotion! Well, it's not as bad as the power of friendship cliche, which is technically the same thing, but no one else in the guild is a fire dragon slayer, so those words belong to him, and it sounds cooler. Then there's the Eclipse Gate, which is the cause of the spirits going batshit insane in that filler arc, and the dragon destroying the world under the control of an evil madman and... Okay, I get the idea. You want to take control of those dragons so you can become stronger and destroy the future because your cute little cat friend was killed and the shadow part of you took over and now you're evil. Sorry if I sound negative, but that is the only downside I have towards this arc. The scenes are enjoyable to watch, with Lucy coming from the future, Natsu befriends a dragon to fight alongside him against future Rogue, all the dragon slayers fighting against those dragons, even though they are failing, in order to sacrifice her lifespan in order to turn back time by a minute. But it was all worth it because a lot can happen in that 1 minute. Yeah, there's a lot of downfalls to the other half of the arc, and I'm not just talking about the bad animation. But I like this half of the arc as well, because it shows how powerful a single dragon can be, and it gives Natsu and the others idea how powerful the black dragon Acnologia in comparison. But what saved the world is Natsu throwing a dragon into the Eclipse Gates and all the dragons are sent back to their time. I don't have a clue how time travel works, but I do understand that destroying the gate in their time so Rogue wouldn't use the gate to summon those dragons even though it already happened. I don't know. Time travel is confusing. But it works because all the dragons are gone and it ends up with a Nalu moment. Tartaros. This arc was very close to being number 1 since it had a lot of good moments such as Ignil's return, Lucy's heartbreaking goodbye and gains her first power-up, the fight against the demons of the Book of Zareth, Gray's father revealed himself, Julia freeing his father from the curse, Gray gained the power of Demon Slayer magic, that Levi and Gagio moment, Ignil fight against Acnologia, the list goes on. But what inspires the most is Natsu and Gray fighting together to defeat a demon known as Margir, and Wendy unlocking her dragon force. There's a lot going on, but the most unforgettable, heartbreaking moment to me is Ignil's death. After so long, Natsu finally reunites with his dragon father, but only to have to lose him once again. That is pretty messed up if you ask me. I cried when he cried, and this is a moment I will never forget. Now I know the most memorable sad moment from this arc would be Aquarius' sacrifice and heartbreaking goodbye. Yes, it is sad and tear-jarring, but if you compare to Natsu's heartbreaking scene to this one, it is hard to tell which one is more sad. Now as for the ending, after the dragons say their final goodbyes, we cut to 1 week later and the master decided to do the unthinkable.
It's time I let the kids go out and find their own paths. Fairy Tail will not rebuild. I'm disbanding it.
Oh yeah, that. And what makes it more sadder is Natsu and Happy decided to go on a training mission for an entire year. And how does Lucy take it?
How can you just up and leave me alone for an entire freaking year? How dumb are you, Natsu?
Jeez, lighten up. Look, I know you lost somebody important to you, but guess what? You're not the only one who's suffering. Natsu lost a father that he's been searching for years, and he ended up dying on him. God, can't she get any worse?
Can't you see? Did you even think of what this would do to me?
Boo freaking who? What, are you gonna die of loneliness? Jeez, I can never understand why she's so upset about this. What, she wanted him to tell her in person? And I know what you guys are gonna say. It's because the guild is disbanding and that her best friend left her behind. But here's the thing. This happened before they knew about the disbandment. So there's really no need to be this upset beforehand. In fact, it would make more sense if she found out about the disbandment before she got the note from Natsu. So yeah. This arc is awesome, with great fighting scenes, unbelievable moments. It is by far one of my most favorites. But it's that goddamn ending that I'll never get over with. Lucy acting like a child over something like this. Well, at least she doesn't get any worse than that.
Can you honestly say you were thinking about the guild when you decided to run away for a whole year? You just took off. You didn't even talk to any of us about it.
What kind of a jerk up and leaves like that?
I can think of one.
At least I left behind a will.
Pretty sure that was just a note.
Still, you took off without so much as a warning. How do you think that affected me? Honestly, it made me feel...
Get over it, you whiny, sassy bimbo! Sorry about that. I just can't stand this girl acting like that. And honestly, she should act more like an adult in this type of situation. Well, to my personal opinion, Lucy will always be an emotional wreck to me. Now that I got that out of the way, let's move to number 1. And some of you may already know what it is. The Alvarez Empire arc. Now, with Tartaros, there's a lot going on, but this arc takes it to a whole new level. All the answers to Zeref, Mavis, and Natsu's connection is all combined into this arc. The major to this is Natsu's END form reveal, and the backstory to his past. Now, I know I said before Natsu didn't have his own backstory arc, which makes this one official, but I am still not convinced. Sure, there is a scene where it shows an image of his parents, but it only's on screen for no more than 20 seconds. But hey, at least we know what his parents look like, so I guess it counts. And now the other major to this arc is END. Yeah, a lot of us were expecting more demonic, but for what I get, it's actually not that bad. No horns sticking out of his head, no red eyes. This form is pretty unique in its own way. After all, END is a fire demon whose flames can burn pretty much anything. When I heard about the animation being English dubbed, this demon was exactly what I imagined he would sound like.
Where is Zeref? I need to find Zeref right now. He's there.
So badass. And also him fighting against Gray is pretty badass as well, at least in the manga. Yeah, I'm not too thrilled about the animation. The fight scene just seemed slow and unappealing, and they're mostly the image of screenshots. But at least the battle scene with the Dragon Slayer versus Acnologia isn't as half-assed as the other fight scenes shown in the 2018 animation. But hey, what can you do about it? At least the manga's still legit. Now I will address one thing about the arc after Zeref is defeated and Acnologia is the final boss. Yeah, we've been waiting for this for a long time, and it seemed that the wait was worth it, sort of. I don't know about you guys, but the last battle seemed it was rushed. Like the characters had to quickly put together the final scheme of things, but it did give us one hell of a battle in the end. Not to mention the story behind the dragon's sudden disappearance of the year 777 and the 400-year plan to send the Dragon Slayers into the future. I thought that was pretty cool. And it shows the strength and bond of our two main leads. There was more of a connection between Natsu and Lucy that even they don't know about. Speaking of connections, let us not forget the two tragic romance with a heart-filling ending and a happily ever after they deserved. Overall, this arc covers a lot of answers to the question that we've been asking since the beginning of the series. The truth behind Zera's past and how Layla Harfilia truly died. Aquarius coming back and discovering that her key is recreating. That Gray and Jubia tear-jerking moment. And the Ice Wizard go batshit crazy. And Lucy willing to protect Natsu. Now let's get to the scene where she lays on Natsu's unconscious body practically half naked.
It's not working. He's not getting warmer.
Please, Natsu.
Ooh, I can watch that all
you're still in
day.
there.
Well, what else can I say? The story is believable, the battles aren't as bad, some interesting characters are introduced. I really like Brandish. She's my new bitch now. And this ends off the series with an unexpected cliffhanger, which brings us to the fairy tale sequel, The 100-Year Quest. Now, I won't spoil much, but I will admit that it is pretty good. I suggest you take a look and read it for yourself. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and leave a comment down below about your favorite fairy tale arcs. Rose Red 17 out.